This is Hard Parking, brought to you by Right Honda and Right Toyota out of Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm your host, Jhae Pfenning, recording from my studio in Gilbert, Arizona. Just got back myself from Las Vegas, flew Southwest, 24-hour check-in. And so, of course, I missed my check-in by a minute. I wasn't on it this time, and that landed me at the end of B. So I was at like B57, and my wife was B56. But it was good. We had a great trip. You know, you can't go to Vegas and really rent a vehicle. It doesn't make any sense. Just Uber or taxi everywhere. It's a nightmare. Parking is going to cost a ton of money. I've driven through Vegas before with the NSX. We did NSX West Fest there. I think 3 years in a row NSX West Fest was in Vegas. I went 2 years. Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk to Ravi Tomerlin of WeDontLift. It's been a while since he's been on the show. Next weekend, he has an event. It's the first event. You're going to learn about it. It's a huge event called Southwest Speed Festival, so I wanted to get him on and let him talk about the event. And then a little bit of car news following that. Before we get to this word for online, I do want to say that today, September 15th, I won't spend much time talking about this, but it appears a second assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. I consumed some of the media. This was while I was still in Vegas. I didn't want to just become overly obsessed with it like I became with the one in July 13th. We still don't have answers. That should make you ask why. The media just does not seem to care, or they're being told not to care. Also, a whistleblower has come out from the last debate, notarized, and submitted an affidavit for those of you who are diehard Harris Waltz supporters that says anytime something doesn't go right, you blame the media. But this person came out and has confirmed the fact that ABC was working with the Harris campaign in preparing her for the debate, which is why she was so damn good. That should scare you. That should make you question things. And it's stuff like that. It's stuff like today's shooting. I go to social media, I start reading responses, and you don't even, I think Tim Walz came out and said, you know, we're glad that Trump is safe and thoughts and prayers to his family. We don't condone this. Biden didn't say anything. So far, Harris didn't say anything. And that should upset you. I don't care if you don't like Donald Trump. I'm on record as saying I'm not really a Trump guy, but you have to look at everything. And man, how? There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. And one side wants to say that they're the joy party and have a lot of fun. Yet when you listen, and I'm not blaming, look, I know I said I wasn't going to talk about this that much, and I don't plan on talking about it much more. I'm not going to blame Harris or Waltz, but look at the diehard media. Look what they are saying. Look how they claim one thing, and then you can turn around and watch. I'm not talking about Harris and Waltz. I'm talking about the media. There's so many receipts of them saying one thing and then turning around and saying something completely different. Almost to the point of negligence. It's gross. It's sick. It offends me as a human. And so that's the energy. I'm like, I cannot believe this is what people are thinking or saying when the proof is right there. You could tell somebody those apples on that tree are red, and they'll find a way to say that they're either not red or that they're only red because you're being lied to and they were never red to begin with. They were always green. And you're looking at the fucking tree and you can see it's red. And it's amazing to me. That's how bad it is. And there's some trash on both sides of the aisle. There's a lot more trash on one side than the other. And it's mind-blowing to me. Coming up after this word from 4 Wheel Online, Ravi Tomerlin. For over a decade, 4 Wheel Online has been bringing the best truck accessories and truck parts to enhance the appearance and performance of all trucks and SUVs. They are dedicated to providing an extensive range of upgrades that will match any maker model on the road. The truck products cover everything to give your truck a custom look and added functionality. Need a wheel and tire package? Head over and use the configuration tool. They carry all the major brands of wheels and tires, so go get outfitted today. Visit them online at 4Wheel Online. Rejoined by Mr. Ravi of WeDontLift, Ravi T, at Southwest Speed Festival. I talked about it very briefly as an upcoming event coming up in the near future. It's actually this upcoming Saturday and I believe Sunday. Ravi, welcome back to the show. It's been a long time. I think the last time you were on, it was back when we used to still do the Builder's Corner and you did a thing on safety and fake stuff.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of time, but we're all still here. We're all still always working on something,
Absolutely. So tell us, what's going on with the Southwest Speed Festival? I'm on the website right now, southwestspeedfestival.com.
So yeah, the Speed Fest came out of a inherent need for something better in terms of events in Arizona. Arizona is weird because we've got so many great potential events, and they all end up being kind of the same thing. I've been getting really burned out going to events where all they're doing is doing burnouts and drag racing and swinging and not even anything really competitive. They're just out there beating on cars, and it seems like that's how things have gone. Is they've slowly turned that direction instead of being motorsport centric or even car show centric or family centric as well. They keep departing more and more to the street scene, in my opinion. So that's been kind of disappointing over the years watching it. So obviously, as you're aware of, we have that wonderful track that we use for NS Expo down there in Casa Grande. So I just simply did the same thing we did for NS Expo and said, hey, I have an idea. I would like to make something big happen down here, and I want you guys to be involved and see what we can do to make this work for everybody. As you know, that management staff there is all about community and all about raising awareness for their facility in Casa Grande. So they didn't even hesitate to jump. They didn't even wait for a business pitch, man. They're like, yeah, whatever you're doing, we're in. I'm like, heck yeah. So the main thing we're trying to have accomplish here is to have an event that's family friendly, that's motorsport centric, and then has an entertainment component, not just as I call them, hanging out in a parking lot component, So we've got live music. We've got a local brewery coming down and bringing down a whole bunch of amazing fresh brew. We have the car show itself. We have food trucks, like I said, the live music. Then plus there's Global Time Attacks coming to town for the first time ever. They've never come to Arizona. They've been running since 2011, and we've just never had a racetrack that would be good enough for Arizona. So that's kind of nice. And then the last piece we added to is we're getting 30 of the best local drifters that come out, including some guys like Forrest Wang are coming out to drift on that track, which has never happened ever. The track is it's
new,
expensive track. It's a $50 million piece of engineering. So they're very protective of how it's treated. So we had to develop some, I would say, rules of engagement for the drifters, but it looks like it should work out pretty well. We're all pretty excited and pumped that it's going to be a packed event. Like the amount of sales that we've had pre-sale for tickets, the amount of every run group is actually sold out. The car show has a couple spots left that we're going to probably sell out by Tuesday. But yeah, past that, it's just packed. We're excited to see something that's different in Arizona. I think a lot of the community is too, because they seem to be really amped up about it.
Yeah, and looking at just the website, and again, that's southwestspeedfestival.com. It's the perfect combination of marketing here. And that track, it's a newish track, and it's a beautiful track. And I was wondering, and I think you just answered it. It's like, did you bring? My question going into this before you just said what you said was, is this an existing event that you talked them into coming here? But it sounds like this is just a ground up event, which is crazy.
100% ground up. Yeah, 100% ground up. Every single little hurdle we've tried to figure out. There's a lot of red tape to holding these types of events that we had to overcome. It's like the alcohol permit, for instance. That was a nightmare in itself, but it's something that I strongly believe needs to be there. It sounds silly, but cars and alcohol, unfortunately, in many bad ways as well, but on a lot of good ways as well. Like people like to, go out and they finish their track day and they settle down, have a beer for the night, and they go to sleep. We all camp out, and it's part of the car culture in general is a nice refreshing beer after a long day, and not driving anywhere, obviously. But so like getting that component out there was just one of many, many little things that had to fall into place to make this work. Finding 30 drifters willing to try this track out, to give it give it a try, knowing that it's not going to be the same drift event that they're used to. It's going to be a little more structured. It's going to be a little bit more controlled, in a positive manner, obviously, mainly to show the track owners that we can drift at this track without damaging the track, because that'll open up more doors in the future, not just for people going on track and drifting, but for also when they build their paddock. If they have a good, strong relationship with the track when their larger skid pad is built, then there's a good chance they'll be able to do drifting on the skid pad there and also participate in larger events like this at the same time, which opens the doors for more folks, more newer people. So those are all little tiny pieces that we're trying to get together and build up, ground up, to basically have our goal was to have an event that basically first time it ticks all the boxes. People want it to happen next year. With GTA being our guest group, they're technically the guest group for us. They're coming in from out of town. They're bringing folks from across the U.S. We've got people from Texas coming. We've got people as far as, I think, Austin. I think got a lot of people from New Mexico, Colorado, up in California. There's some folks driving down. So it's actually attracted quite a lot of people, because in the Southwest region, we don't actually have any FIA tracks at all.
Oh,
so this
that's
is the
crazy.
only one. Right, yeah. So, I mean, a lot of tracks have closed, obviously. And then a lot of them just don't have the certifications. And what does that mean? I mean, you were out there for NS Expo. You saw how incredibly safe that track was, and there's really nothing to worry about in terms of hitting anything. And then, again, how nice the actual property was in terms of the track itself.
And
so those are just things that people don't have access to, you know?
Yeah, and it's not that far away either, which is great. You don't have 35
minutes from from Wild Horse Pass, so it's not if you're in a car and you're not towing, it's 35 minutes. If you're towing, it's maybe 45. So it's not that big of a deal. Just carpool, if people are driving. I think that's what a lot of people are doing. But yeah, it's the right time and the right place to have something better for Arizona.
Now, is this technically a 2-day event, or is it just Saturday?
So technically the festival is Saturday. We've been advertising heavily that all the good stuff's happening on Saturday intentionally, but the GTA side of it actually will carry over into day 2. And there will be competition until about 2:00 on the following day. Spectators are still welcome to come. If they already purchased tickets for Saturday, they can come on Sunday as well, no charge. And we will have someone charging for tickets if you wanted to come just on Sunday, but I highly encourage people to come on Saturday. It's open. The gates open at 3:00 for spectators, and everybody can stay until midnight. At midnight, everybody's got a jet, but it should be a really solid time. And like I said, I think the core activities right around 6 to 9. I'd say is when I'd really suggest, if you can't get there at 3, get there by 6.
Man, that's awesome that you're able to put something like this together, and it's going to be an amazing event. How difficult, aside from the red tape, just getting people to listen, or were you like, hey, this is Ravi, you guys know me, I'm doing something?
A little bit of that. I kind of had to lean. I had to lean on a lot of people. So I mean, I know I can't. I don't. You know me. I'm not as active in the community in terms of personally anymore. I do a lot of behind the scenes background stuff. But more or less, I grabbed me and my friends Avery and Chris and our friends, and we just kept branching out and seeing who can do what and who knows something about this or that. And eventually we ended up, I think there's about 30 of us in the back end, plus another 30 people who are volunteering their time. Technically, we're all volunteering time. Nobody's getting paid. We're all volunteers. But there's about 60 people that are all working together to make this happen. Everybody's, utilizing their individual skill set to make it happen. So it's not a Ravi thing. It's a community effort to make something greater than the sum of its parts, And
I mean, you're right. But the way I see it, and I know you got 30 people on deck, it's a Ravi thing, man. It's a Ravi thing. But no, you're absolutely correct.
Ideas are absolutely worthless without execution, my friend. That's how I always feel about this kind of stuff. Like I have tons of great ideas, but if I can't convince somebody to execute them with me, they're just stay ideas, Yeah,
you don't want to be the idea guy.
Yeah, so it did take a lot of effort. I mean, to be fair, my two buddies, Avery and Chris, who are heavily involved in this, they didn't even ask questions. They're like, all right, let's do it. This sounded like fun, They sounded like fun. And, a year later, we're all losing hair now. But, that's part of the adventure. I mean, we had to lay down a lot of groundwork on just for media, for instance. We have never had the event before. So we have two options. We either run a bunch of stock photos, and try to do that, or we come up with media. So we spent, I think, 3 full days down there filming and taking pictures and building our media portfolio just so we could have media. So we are not just showing off, like I said, stock photos. It was quite the adventure.
are you able to, like, what's your role going to be when that day comes? Are you providing Overwatch? Are you actually able to get into your car?
I'll be getting in my car. I'll be mostly Overwatch, but I think it should be a little bit of everything.
And that's you calling from the shop in Tempe, right off of Rio. Are you still looking? Last time we talked,
we're trying to get out of here. We're still looking. This space is for sale, which I mean, I could buy it, but I don't want to. It's a little rundown for the price point, man. Like, I got in here because it was cheap and rundown, not because it's expensive and rundown.
So tell us, because I don't know how many people, maybe a dozen or so, that are listening to this now that may have listened way back in the day, because, you kind of churn listeners as time goes on. So, let us know. Tell my new listeners, what do you have? What are you taking out there on the track? And a little bit more about you, because, you're my local racer. That's how I always describe you. I go, oh yeah, Ravi, he represents us on the scene. He travels all around the U.S., breaks records, been doing this shit for a long time, and still doing it. I haven't
broken any records for a long time, Jay, but I'm still trying. But yeah, so I still represent the 91 NSX community. So a very outdated old chassis, but still a good chassis. I have a 1991 and a 1990 NSX, and the 91 is my race car. It has a K20C swapped out of an Accord into it, making just about 550 horsepower at the wheel. A sequential transmission, running motion control suspension, all factory geometry, with the exception of running a T.I. Dave's eccentric front camber or bolts in the front. Everything else is pretty factory bushings, factory ball joints. Mainly just a really lightweight platform with way too much power. It's a lot of fun and drives like a big go-kart. I am hoping to drive it at this event. I'm actually going to load up here when I get off the podcast. We're going to load it up and test it, do some testing with it tomorrow and see how she does. We had some problems with the sequential, so we're going to go hopefully see if they're resolved or not,
And this is the pink, black, and white F Cancer NSX that a lot of you probably see on media here and there and everywhere.
Yep, and it'll stay pink. Everybody asks me if it's ever going to change colors. No, it's going to stay pink, and we're thinking about inverting the colors, of having a black background and then going black, flat black with a bunch of pink accents, and just having some fun with it.
That sounds pretty cool, man. So this is
when we put the new front end on, we saw the flat black. Like, ooh, that looks good.
It does. The picture you guys have on the website is pretty fantastic. Looks like you got a lot of food trucks coming out. So this is from 3 to midnight, and I'm guessing, because I'm going to have one of these Catalyst crafted ales, I'm guessing like the beer tent or vendor, it probably shuts down like 7:38.
No, we have got them running till 10:30. So beer will be until 10:30. Yeah, so that'll give people an hour and a half to get themselves taken care of, and if they're driving home or get rides or whatnot. They will actually be kindly serving any of the drivers who stick around, who are staying the night. They will serve them as late as we need to. So they're really being team players.
That's like a shift beer.
It is.
So give us a rundown of the details one more time.
Sure. So the whole event, it's Saturday and Sunday, but Saturday's the day you want to be there. 3:00, the gates open to spectators. Parking is free. Just head on in, and I said, well, really, as the sun goes down, we're going to start heating up the action, firing up the live music, the DJs, stuff like that. There should be games out there like cornhole and stuff like that to play if you're bored, but you shouldn't be bored because there's going to be pretty much nonstop on-track action all night. I think the longest break is at lunch, so you guys aren't even going to see it, so we'll be done with that. So it should be 3:00 all the way to close. I think the last session is 11:00. We're going to run the DJ till midnight and close it off with a thank you to everybody, and hopefully everybody gets home safe.
This is down at the Podium Club.
That's correct.
Casa Grande. You guys want to follow Ravi?
If you want to follow us, we don't lift pretty much on any social media. So YouTube is WDL Racing. That is the only one that is different. But it is We Don't Lift on Instagram. We don't lift on Facebook. I don't think we do anything else right now. But yeah, especially if you want to follow some of the cars footage, we do a lot of in-car on our YouTube, and a lot of our weird projects end up on our YouTube as well.
Well, then I'll see you Saturday. I'm going to miss you at NS Expo this year, but possibly next year.
Yeah, I still keep thinking about it, but it's just...
I hear you.
Even after this event, I'm probably just going to fall asleep for 2 weeks. So
Understood. This has been a year in the making?
Yeah, I started last September. Around right now was when we cooked up the idea.
Very impressive, my friend. Very impressive. Thanks, Ravi.
You got it, man. Nice talking with you again, Jay.
I want to thank Ravi for joining the show. I will be at his event this upcoming Saturday. If you are in the Arizona area, wander down there and hang out, have some fun. It sounds like it's going to be a great event. A little bit of car news before we get out of here. So recently we had Ralph Geel on the show, maybe 2 months ago, and he is the lead designer of Stellantis, which does cars. But Stellantis on September 11th posted that they have invested, and this is according to Stellantis.com, more than $406 million in 3 Michigan facilities that execute multi-energy strategy. So really, that's build more EVs. I know we talk about that on the show sometimes. I think that, and other people think that the strategy is going away from pure EV and maybe going back to a more refined and efficient hybrid. But Stellantis is doubling down. And Honda and Acura are doubling down. And there's a few automakers that are doubling down on the full EV. But I think it's a little dangerous to put everything into one basket, regardless of what it is. Obviously, internal combustion, if you put everything in internal combustion, you're safe because it's a known thing. You can just make it more efficient. And maybe it goes away at 2035. I doubt it. I have serious doubts. But it'll be interesting to see what Stellantis does with this. You know, they have that EV Ram. They have that EV Charger. Is it the Charger or Challenger? I think it's the Charger. Yeah, it's the Charger that was unveiled earlier this year. And everyone hated it, although it kind of looks cool. If you really study every single angle, it's got some good stuff going on. It still has that nice design, in my opinion. That nice kind of throwback, fresh retro mod design, although it's EV. And I'm sure they're going to make it pretty damn impressive when the production vehicle comes out. Fully production vehicle comes out. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see what they do. It does say of the Ram in this article, the Ram Charger will be built alongside an internal combustion model in Sterling Heights. So they're still making, obviously, your normal internal combustion engine vehicles, but they are putting, basically $500 billion into the EV technology. And so I think that's something that's going to be developing, and we'll see what happens. They call it their 2030 strategic plan. So we're still a few years off. So with that being said, I want to thank Right Honda, Right Toyota, Toyota of Huntington Beach, Claremont Toyota, and Gardenia Honda. FullOnline.com, Sell Shop Wireless Services, AutoCannon officially licensed Honda and Acura gear. Can't forget our Patreon business supporters like Automotive Specialty Tool out of Owings Mills, Maryland, Kuya Automotive out of Winter Garden, Florida, Pell Construction out of Caledonia, Michigan, Beak House Small Home Design out of Ashburn, Virginia, and Traverse City, Michigan. And of course, Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley out of Boise, Idaho. If you want to become part of the Patreon and get your shout outs and your swag, you can join for as little as $3 a month. That's patreon.com/Hard Parking Podcast. The link is in the description of this episode and every episode. Special thanks to Mark Stoneman, Catherine Cox, Eddie Ramos, Richard Graves, Byron Jones, Bo Jung, Alice Kamina, Drew Bunkley, and Yasu Chiba. Questions, comments, or concerns, hardparkingpodcast@gmail.com. Really, only Yasu uses that. Everybody else DMs me on social media. Follow me on Instagram @JFenning. Join the Hard Parking Violations Facebook group and the Hard Parking channel on my main Instagram. That's where I drop all sorts of polls, some fun stuff, and some loose political stuff without trying to be too one way or the other. Some people like it, some people hate it. It's my channel. But remember, I can't grow without you telling the world how great this show is. Let's do this. Let's grow this thing together. I need more reviews for my podcast, and I will talk to you all next week.
Shut up!